When I signed this film, I was going through the worst phase of my life, personally, professionally, emotionally, mentally, physically. I didn't know whether I was depressed or not. I just knew something's not working. I was procrastinating a lot. I stopped enjoying watching film.
And you love that.
And I only know that.
Yeah.
So for me, my life was films. And then it reached a point where I think I just self-imploded. I went within. And then you can't nurture your personal relationships at the level you would like to, whether it's your friendships, whether it's your relationships, whether it is your family, whether it is even your work.
Arjun, welcome to the Hollywood Reporter India.
Thank you. Feels really nice to be here, the Hollywood Reporter India.
Well, it feels really nice to be in your home. Thank you for opening this up for us.
I think it was the nicest way to start my positive journey is to sit at home and start talking about all the stuff that I've been through for the last few years. And of course, this film that has given me this kind of homecoming feeling almost back to the industry which has given me love, back to that audience that has given me love. So I think it felt kind of correct. Appropriate, yes.
Yes. Well, listen, congratulations on Singham Again.
Thank you.
Not my cup of tea.
It's fine. You can have coffee or green tea.
But it's so nice to see people back in the theatres.
Yes.
You have got a lot of praise
Yes.
for Danger Lanka,
Yes.
for holding your own against half the film industry. What have the last few days been like?
Overwhelming. I think that's a term I very rarely use because I'm quite in control of my emotions normally. But this time it's been, you become numb when you get this kind of reaction because I'm not used to it anymore. It's been a while since I've got such unanimous reaction. You do films, you do work, there are goods and bads, so you play the yin and yang of it and try and learn and absorb. At this point in time, the love and positivity is overwhelming and I'm trying not to look at the negativity for once. I'm quite a practical and pragmatic person, but this time I'm just enjoying and soaking it in. I think what feels happy is the peers calling you, it's the makers calling you, it's the audience, it's the people the naysayers turning into believers, the people saying, okay, we believed in this guy back then, there was a bad phase and now we like him again, or we believe in him again and they're happy to be proven right. And also I think I've got to respect that a lot of people are happy to be proven wrong in that sense that, okay, we didn't estimate him when this film was signed by this man. You questioned the signing, you questioned the casting. I think Rohit Shetty took it upon himself to present me in such a way, and my hard work obviously allowing the non-believers to turn into believers, and that's the nicest. I mean, if I can honestly say, the numbers, etc., the success, all that is an eventuality. When you sit down after a month or two, it'll settle in. I think today, to walk into a place, perhaps, or walk into you, it just feels like, okay, the conviction is back in people that this guy deserves to be on the big screen. And I think for me, that matters a lot because that's where I grew up as an actor and also as an audience member. I love the big screen experience.
Yeah.
I want to do all kinds of work, but for me, this big screen reconnect with my audience was very important.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have very long answers. You got to get used to it. I have a lot to speak. That's why I'm overwhelmed.
I was thinking that one of the roles of yours, one of the characters of yours that has been sort of, again, universally loved was, of course, Parmain Ishaqzade,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
12 years ago. And this is a man, at least till the interval point, we're supposed to hate.
Yeah, no
right?
redeeming qualities.
No redeeming qualities,
Immature,
right? Yeah.
uncouth, brash,
And what he does is just awful.
Awful, yes.
Right? Then you have Danger Lanka, who is also, of course, there's a backstory and there is an explanation, but the truth is he's an unhinged guy.
Of course.
Killing people with weapons in his mouth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, Arjun,
no F's given if I can say.
Exactly. But do you think that as an actor, you might actually be more effective as a bad guy in the way that Bobby Deol has shown that he is? I mean, he's reinvented himself as this terrifying man.
And that's amazing. Perhaps today I would allow this success to dictate that, yes, that seems the direction in which I can head more organically. But see, when I started out I then gave 2 stays right after.
Yeah.
And then I did Kiyanka right after. Now, those films, also I was younger. Also, you were playing more to your age group, the youth audience, etc. Today, yes, definitely, sitting down here. I've not thought about it, but yes, Bobby is a great reference point. Again, somebody who has done such an amazing job in that short screen space, unexpected, unhinged in his characters.
And truly menacing.
Yeah, so I'm not averse to it. It's not like today I'm saying, abhi main main lead banna chahta hu, mujhe sirf romantic picture karni hai. Listen, I want to do all kinds of films. I've always done that all my career. If you notice my filmography, whether they pan out or not. I think my physicality has become a strength now in this sense because I do look like a menacing personality. I think when I stood up against all these actors in this film, I do carry myself in a certain way on screen. So I'm definitely open to it. I think it allows you to really have fun. as an actor, explore certain shades that perhaps when you do the vanilla roles or the slightly straighter roles or the slightly more expected mainstream roles, you can't always go into this direction. So definitely, like for example, when you see Ishaq Zadeh, there is a redeeming quality in the second half. So it's a great role, because that doesn't necessarily mean that I only need to do Danger Lanka. I can find a character eventually that has some kind of redemption, or it could be a guy that starts from somewhere and becomes that. So there are a lot of things to explore now, and I'm fully game for it.
But you haven't signed anything.
No, I've not signed anything.
How come?
Conscientious choice. I think I've done a lot of work over the last few years. When I signed this film, I was going through the worst phase of my life, personally, professionally, emotionally, mentally, physically. And I got this opportunity. And I had to anyways grow this beard out, and it's my hair, so I knew baki sab actors aate jate rahenge, meri continuity rakhni padegi, because it's such a big film, and Rohit sir had told me, I need you to be in the look because we'll shoot with you whenever possible. I just took that as a stepping stone towards my own personal development as well, So I took the foot off the gas. I was not looking around. Also, I was not seeking, because when you do this kind of a film, you can't be trying to do 20 things at the same time. And it turned out to be a pretty introspective time for me, where I realized less is more for me today going forward. I have to create some value and equity if this film pans out, which now, touch wood, it has. I can't be sitting with so many things that exist that I don't have control over. Right now, like you said, I would like to do these kind of roles. It's easy, but I wouldn't have anticipated these kind of films coming my way then, right?
Yeah.
So better to wait. And like I said, I was going through a very internal beat. Yeah, so it's not like I didn't do it because I didn't want to work. I wasn't getting the best offers any which ways. I wasn't really excited about it. I said no to a few things that felt like I can pass right now. Self-improvement also is something that actors forget, as human beings forget, because I've been running for years. Anu, I lost my mom 15, 20, 45 days before my film released, and I just chose to work. And then that's just habit. So sometimes it's a bad habit to be that rat on that cycle, on that wheel.
The hamster wheel, yes, yeah.
And when I got off, COVID gave me a bit of space. We all got it, but then we were all dying to go back to work because you want to feel alive again.
Yeah.
But this time I just chose to take a step back for my own self. So it wasn't like I didn't sign it only from the professional point of view. It was more personal as well. You
said to me, Arjun, that you were doing this role while you were dealing with depression and a breakup. How did you focus?
So going through, how do I explain it? You will have moments of self-doubt in any profession. Any person has it. Then you fight through it. You look for validation through either the work that you do or the personal space that you're in or whatever's happening in your life, because there are fleeting moments. When films don't pan out, those moments become days, then they become months, then they become years. Because you do doubt, am I cut out for this profession? Do people want to consume me? Of course, there are people who appreciate you, but at the same time, the negative always sounds louder and it gets louder and louder. Listen, we're in a box office driven business. I started out as a main lead. I've delivered, perhaps in my generation, I was the first guy to do the 100 crore club or whatever you call it. So there is a certain expectation. Also the way I looked. I used to look a certain way, and then the expectation is to maintain that and look better and better. I went through my own physical issues, physical issues, I'm a fat kid at heart, right? Eventually I will always have to go through that. It creates a lot of mental trauma for years, which you don't realize. Your equation with food, your equation with taking care of yourself. So for me, hard work was working 18 hours a day. Hard work was never taking care of myself, So when I went through this phase of self-doubt, of self-questioning, I started seeking therapy, because I think sometimes we all have friends, we all have relatives, they all are going through their own problems. I've also been somebody who's taken responsibility. I don't go and give, I'm not the kind of guy who talks about things. So I tried to deal with it best I could. And the depression part or the therapy part started only last year, which is why I said this last 1 year was more personal than professional. I didn't know whether I was depressed or not. I just knew something's not working. I was procrastinating a lot. So one very big thing, I know I'm digressing, I stopped enjoying watching films.
And you love that.
And I only know that.
Yeah.
So for me, my life was films. And then suddenly I used to watch other people's work and feel, will I be able to? Will I get a chance to? And I've never been a bitter, negative person, but that started festering inside me in a very off way. And I wasn't able to connect with what my wish list just kept getting longer and longer. And I became that guy that started watching YouTube shorts to put myself to bed. And that's not a nice place to be, because I think whatever it is, the only way to learn in this profession is to watch, to interact, to be open, to be malleable. And that all just died suddenly. So I started therapy. I tried a couple of therapists. They didn't work out. So I was confused again. But then I hit upon somebody who really allowed me to speak. And that gave me a lot of clarity. And she did diagnose me with mild depression at that point in time, which is very circumstantial. It's not that my entire life has led to this. It is because of what I am in this moment. Because like I said, the physical part of it was something that took a toll on me. My health has always been, unfortunately, something which I've not openly spoken about. But when you have an autoimmune disorder, I have something called Hashimoto's. It's an extension of having a thyroid issue, but your antibodies fight against you. So it's almost like I can take a flight and gain weight because the body goes into stress. So the stress mode is your antibodies believe something is wrong. So there's
and it goes into action.
It goes into action. So it goes into, it's like flight or fight mode, So your body's, so the more relaxed I am, the better I look, which is ironical because in this profession, you're not really relaxed, if that makes any sense.
Yes. Yeah.
So and that happened to me when I was 30. And I defied it. I said, no, this can't be, because my mom used to have it. And I was very nonchalant saying, I've become fit. I'd lost 50 kgs. What the hell is this? It's not going to bother. My sister also has it. And I was like, I'll deal with it. And I just kept working. And I remember I was doing Tevar and Kian Khan. And it started showing up during Half Girlfriend and Mubaraka because I was shooting constant. I shot both of them back to back. And if I look back today, I can see me changing over the course of the films. I mean, I was supposed to play a basketball player in the film and I was supposed to be looking a certain way. And I was trying my best. Believe you me, it's not like I was not. But my body was changing. So now that's 2014, 15. That's 7-8 years of me holding that physical trauma. And then films not panning out at the same time. Pre-COVID, I hit a very poor slump. I mean, before that, I've given a lot of successes, which what happens is people remember your last Fridays. Yeah. So also, I'm not the kind of person that could do this PR to remind people that I'm a good actor and I've done successful work. You don't survive without being good at it. What levels? That's subjective. You might have liked me in something and hated me in something. You might have liked a film, you might have hated a film. But the audience has liked me. But how do I prove that? So that kind of eats into you that, okay, I need work to prove it. Then
and you don't have the work.
Then I get a Sandeep Urpinki Farrar, which I believed completely in, and I went and did this film. Where if you see the climax, show me how many actors would be willing to do that climax with my physicality, to go clean shaven and start dancing in a almost feminine avatar. And I've never shied away from taking chances. And that pans out in a very minuscule OTT appreciation level. Yes. So you're like, okay, now, as an actor, I try to prove myself again. That didn't pan out. Okay, then I did the straightforward mainstream 2-hero film with Ek Villain Returns. That didn't hit the spot. So I think it was just so much happening that when I reached this point, it's an amalgamation of obviously losing a parent, your parents separating, all that, which I was still dealing with because success helps you slide things under the carpet. And then it reached a point where I think I just self-imploded. I went within. And then you can't nurture your personal relationships at the level you would like to, whether it's your friendships, whether it's your relationships, whether it is your family, whether it is even your work, whether it is just equations of socializing. You're not able to. And I was not a happy person. Yeah. And the fire within me diminished. If I can take this opportunity to say, if I had not done therapy, even if this film is where it was, I would still be a conflicted soul at my personal level. So I feel my personal evolution has been timed with this film releasing. But if I had not taken those 2 steps back, I wouldn't be able to take these 5 steps forward in my personal life. It's kind of played out in such a way where I took this chance to take care of myself. And I went through arguably I've shot the most entertaining commercial film of my life, the biggest film of my life, not really being in love with cinema. And that's quite a paradox if you look at it. And this is a kid who's grown up. I mean, you got my DVD. I've only known cinema all my life. And that twinkle in my eye was not there. And I guess the people liking it means inherently my soul still allows me to be this mainstream guy, which never went away. But I used to wonder sometimes, saying, I'm doing this. I'm not really the best headspace doing this. Like I'm showing up, giving 200%. But when I used to go back to the van, I used to wonder, what's the point of it all? Is it really going to pan out? Am I going to be in love with cinema again? Are people really going to care about me again? Is the audience going to reject me, question it? So I went through all that while doing it.
Even while you're doing it?
Yeah, completely. I mean, not in the moment in the shot.
Right.
But it's a pretty scattered shoot for a person like me. I've shot about 50 odd days. You shoot 10 days, then you have a month off. You shoot 5 days, because I've never with all the other actors to that degree. So I was very isolated in my shoot. I think Bebo and me shot the most together. I shot a bit with Ranbir and a bit with Ajay. So there's a lot of in-between moments that happen when you're sitting at home, when you can't really do much else because of the look, because also um, you're not looking like a guy who can just go out and do brands and events. It's not like they want you at the next place to show up as the face and the. So it eats into you, and like I said, because you're also not enjoying doing the things that you grew up doing.
Yeah.
And then you have to take care of yourself physically, you have to take care of yourself emotionally, mentally. So, yeah, the baggage was there. I didn't doubt my ability to do the role. I doubted whether people would engage. And you can't be fulfilled as an actor without engaging the audience, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But Arjun, when did you fall back in love then? With the movies?
So I think I completed this film shoot in May, and I took some time off. And I think the last 3-4 months, sometimes you got to do things that you don't feel like doing, like taking care of yourself even more, like putting yourself in those spots, pushing yourself physically, and even just generally, I went away to detox. And I think a lot of cleansing of mindset happened because I was done with the film. So then I was like, okay, now I've done the best I could. Now, whenever this film comes, we will see. But I have the next few months to take care of myself. And I think that's where I became empty and free. And I started engaging with movies again. I started engaging with shows again. I started engaging with myself again to be happy. I was finding it very tough to be happy. And then I said, okay, let me watch something. Let me do something. Slowly, I picked up habits. I saw Only Murders in the Buildings one season, which was pending for a long time. And it was a happy 30-minute. I was like, okay, slowly. It's like you waddle in. Yeah, you waddle in slowly. Then I was abroad and I went alone to see Furiosa. I was very happy. I went and saw that all by myself. And I was like, okay, this is what I used to do as a kid. I used to go to PVR and Chandan and all and sit alone and see films. I've done that all my life. I was like, yes, shit, this is the moment. So that actually was a big moment for me. I didn't love Furiosa. I loved Mad Max.
Me too, yeah.
I enjoyed Furiosa as a spectacle, but I was like, okay, it's a bit vacant beyond that. Hemsworth was unhinged.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, his look is similar to mine. So I was like, okay, that's a good sign. It's working in the same direction. I can be the T of Thor at some point. So yeah, these were the few moments where I started trying to get. Sometimes you have to try.
Yeah.
I don't think you can get up one day and have an epiphany or a moment. It's not like a montage in a Hindi film, at the end of the song. It's
Ho jata hai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still going on. I will
Yeah.
be very, very honest. Even today, there are moments where you have a fleeting. I mean, see, this weekend doesn't count. I don't take it into account, and I don't want to believe that I'm cured or everything is sorted. It's a work in progress. I've always believed that, but I'm in a much better place than I would have.
Arjun, I don't know if you remember this, but we did an interview about 7 years ago, I think. Okay, it was an audience interview.
Okay.
And you talked to me about how post Tevar, on the Monday after Tevar, you actually sat down with your dad and just wept.
Cried. Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I do. And it was so moving.
I try to forget.
No, you talked, with an audience. You were open about that. Did you have that moment in these last couple of years? Because there's been such a spate of failure, right?
I think what pulled the plug for me eventually, Anu, was when I the first few months of COVID was the time where I was really low, because at that point Panipat had not panned out. And I think what happens is when a film doesn't do well, you have to take full blame for it. I made the choice to do that film. Ashu sir made the film with me. Today, when you see the way Danger Lanka looks, if I look like that in the film, so I think it's not the story, it's not the narrative, I think Panipat had a lot of good qualities in it. It's not a bad film from any accord. I think it could have been much better for various reasons. Now that's again, open conversation. I really enjoyed doing the film, but that look was a chance we took. So maybe that didn't pan out. But what happened is that became a punching bag, that point. And that was a low point because I think the film got dissed because of just the fact that the choice was to go bald in that film. It's not like I sat and cried, but I realized, okay, you can't explain to the audience. Sometimes they're trying to point a finger without knowing, but it can be a little downing for you, because so that happens. And that was also the starting point of a lot of Instagram chatter that was getting created, till about 2016, 17, Instagram and social media didn't have this prominence, Actually, Twitter had a lot more positivity when it started.
Yes.
It was almost like
I remember those days.
It was the place where Rocket Singh was a cult film.
Yes.
So you went there to understand, okay, and then it became a slightly more mainstream medium. And that's what happened with Instagram also. I think 2017, 18 ke baad, it became really, the toxicity started developing. it coincided with 2-3 other films of mine that not worked, that really not worked. And then COVID happened. So the first 2-3 months of COVID, I was completely lost. And I think I ended up signing a couple of films just to make sure that I get back on the horse. And I used villain and Bhoot Police as an opportunity. I mean, like I always say, I'm a very collaborative person. At that point, I said, you know what, Saif Ali Khan and me, I'll do the film. John and me, I'll do the film. I was not the first choice for both those films. And I still did them because I realized, okay, I've got to work. The only way you can win this audience back is by work. And I worked hard on myself. I lost the weight. I grew my hair out and the way I looked. To whatever degree I could, I was out there. But that starting point was that COVID 2020, March, April, May was a terrible time. And also Sandeep Urmiki released at that point and didn't pan out the way. So I was crestfallen because then people saw it, like I saw the reviews and people saw it in like May 2020. You feel worse because you're like, I had a piece. I had that piece to show the artist inside me exists for all those people. So I think that was the time where I was really crestfallen. And of course, last year was a tough year for various other reasons. I think there have been enough Tevar moments happening all over again. I would like to move beyond that. It's not that you sit and wallow, it's just you wonder.
Right.
And I'm an overthinker by nature, so that doesn't help at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to overthink what answers I've given for the rest of the day, you know. It's just one of those things.
But you know, Arjun, I think the book on standing tall post-failure should be written by your father.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I think he's
So I'm
just...
cut from the same cloth, so it's good, yeah.
It's so incredible. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know if
I
I've ever
agree.
told you this, but I started as a journalist just around the time of Roop Ki Rani, Choro Ka Raja. Okay, I remember...
Wow. No, I didn't know that.
I remember working on a cover story for Sunday magazine, which called it the 10 crore gamble. Okay, at that time, 10 crores was
Yeah, it was a huge amount. Yeah.
a huge amount
I mean,
of
it
money.
still is.
It still is, but it's not the biggest film ever made
Yeah,
at 10 crores, right?
yeah.
At that point, that was the biggest film ever made. And
Yeah,
of course,
correct.
it tanked completely. You know, this year...
And it took 4 years to make. I remember.
Exactly. And now you watch some of it and it's great fun.
Actually, it is.
It really is
Like, they have a
great
train
fun.
robbery that's amazing. The songs, the set pieces. There's a pigeon called Django. Like it's
the
top.
outfits.
It's like mainstream. Yeah, it's like the villain is with a stick and he's saying "Shaitan ki kasam," and it's Romeo Naam Mera as a song. It's like it's great fun. I mean, I love that film. I can never stop loving
You know,
it.
but then this year, I remember talking to him about Maidan,
Yeah.
and he was talking about, you know, the kind of work that went into it and how much money went into it. And then, of course, that underperformed as well. And
Yeah.
I've never seen him, at least, I mean, I don't know him that well, but socially when I see him, he's always
Yeah, he's
chipper.
not despondent and
He's never
yeah,
despondent.
he's never despondent. And
What is he, like, what's he having?
I would like to know, so listen, I think, how do I explain it? I think we're cut from the same cloth, but circumstantially, he's taken a lot of punches and risen from them, and he's a very resilient man by nature. And this should go without saying, the upbringing he had is very different from mine. I've had to deal with emotional
Sure.
punches. He's had to deal with financial punching. I think he's at the end of the day, he's a businessman who takes a chance. He's a gambler at heart because he's also a flamboyant, creative man. He will go all out.
He's that old school filmmaker,
he's
na?
the kind of person whose biopic will be a great series.
Yeah.
Because there's just anecdote after anecdote after anecdote. Because the man, कुछ लोग राजा होते, कुछ महाराजा होते. You know, my father's a maharaja in that sense. He's कुछ लोग अमीर होते हैं because पैसे होते, कुछ लोग पैसे नहीं भी हो तो रईस होते. So my father एक रईस आदमी, because दिल से बहुत.
दिमाग से.
Yeah, he is that.
Yeah.
But you have to understand that also develops fear inside me because I've seen the space of him being what he's going through. So I realize the way he deals with people, the way he deals with it, I cannot try to be him. That's his personality. So what he does is very unique. I am from the same cloth, but I deal with things I'm very internal. He's maybe more external. He will never ever let things affect him. I go within myself. So it's very different that way. I don't know how he does it. I wish I did, but I think it's commendable. I think there's not one person in this industry who I've met that even when my father's gone through a bad beat or a bad time or a financial crunch, that he's walked away or shied away from looking into that person's eyes and giving them the feeling that he's here. You can knock on his door, you can pick up the phone, and he will be there in whatever capacity at that point possible. And I think that's a very good quality to have in a person who's working in the profession as frivolous as us, where relationships and equations change Friday to Friday. Yeah. Most people don't answer your phone if the Friday doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
And here's a man who's willing to stand by you and back you. And that's why you'll always hear people speak highly about him in this regard, because it's not only the flamboyance, it's also the fact that he's a man of his word. I've never heard a story about him backing out from what he committed. And he suffered for that, just by the way. There are lots of places where I've tried to tell him, you can afford to back out, you've got a setback, but he doesn't. He started,
That's also that old school thing, no?
yeah, and he's made
I've given
films,
my word.
Yeah, he's made films in the South recently that have done well.
Yeah.
He's still working, he's still got the fire, and he's a great reference point. And I think that comes from, like I said, the upbringing. They had to see their father, I mean, Anil Chachu and he and Sanjay, they all had to see their father go through a point where he was unwell and they had to start working early, looking out for themselves. So the hustle comes from a very survival-driven instinct. And then you, of course, achieve everything. But even today, you meet my father, he's still got that hunger to make more movies. You meet Anil Kapoor, he's like, "Arey, role de de yaar." You know, he's still he's the world's best struggler, sometimes I call him, because he's still looking at your director and saying, "Mere ko kab cast karega?" I'm like, but I would always be scared of telling Anil Chachu to meet Rohit Shetty. He'll say, "Mere ko le le yaar picture." You know, because he's AK. And I love that about him. I couldn't, and Anil Chachu will say, "Tu phir se meri reputation kharab kar raha hai." But that's him. Now this family, I guess we come from that place where Sanjay survived that. He's come through. So resilience, I think, is our family's
It's just inborn.
Inborn.
Yeah.
It plays out in different ways.
Yeah.
I think because I'm being vulnerable talking about those moments right now, so it feels like, okay, we've not been vulnerable. I'm sure they all have had their moments. It's just back in the day, dealing with vulnerability was different.
Yeah.
I think today you're allowed to be vulnerable and go through what I went through. That's the only difference.
Yeah. So Arjun, in that same interview, I had asked you, what's the hardest thing about being an actor? And you had said that it's the loneliness. You said...
I need to see this interview again.
No,
it's really resonating.
I wanted to ask you that. So you had said that the hardest thing is loneliness because, you know, you're with 150, 200 people in the day and then you come home and you're alone. Tell me, after a very publicized relationship, you have said that you're single again. Are you grappling with that sort of loneliness again?
No, I think we need to contextualize that was 2014, 15.
Yeah, around.
And I think I was still fresh of dealing with the fact that my sister was working outside the city. She was in Delhi and she had just graduated. I was traveling pillar to post to work and do films at the same time. I'd lost mom. So the house was empty. You're never alone when you work, but then you come back and feel that because how do I say this? You can be lonely in a crowded place also.
Of course.
So I think that came more from a person who was dealing at the age of 26, 27, 28 with life, which was happening to me in real time while I was also becoming a star and getting all the attention in the world. Like I had the world at my feet and I didn't have exactly what I wanted, a home to go back to that had something to really level me and calm me down and, you know, give me a sense of grounding. So I had no grounding then. And then I got it out of whatever happened in life. Then eventually I found it. After that, my life went through its beats. Work might have been up and down, but my personal life became a bit more balanced, sorted. And I think that bit went away. Today, when I sit, I think today like I say this, I needed to just take care of myself. Being selfish is looked at slightly in a wrong way, but I guess it's not selfish. It's just, I was not okay because of other things. It was not the loneliness or me being alone. It was just a lot that's happened in my life. Relationships fulfill you, but if you're not okay, then you need to figure that out. And you can't project that onto a relationship or other people. And like I always say, it's every day you figure stuff out. You know, I always say this. You know, every day you wake up, there are new things that you need to keep working on. Whether you're in a relationship or otherwise. It's very tricky to speak about it, Anu, because I think I've got to respect the way things have been. I don't like to go into details for that reason, but I will never ever crisscross the two things. I think what my issues in the beginning part of my life are not correlated to where I am today. Lots of things happen in between. That loneliness today doesn't exist in that capacity. But yeah, I've been trying to get better at who I am, or maybe reconnect with who I was. And that does take a toll on things around you to a great degree, yes.
You know, you'd also said in another interview that it's not that the world is against me, but perhaps the world hasn't fully understood me, right? I'm not your morning cup of coffee. No, chai?
My chai nahi, my black coffee.
My black coffee. Yeah. What do you feel like people don't get about you?
I'm misunderstood quite a bit. I don't smile enough, so people think I'm बहुत सड़ू हूँ, मैं खड़ूस हूँ, मैं grumpy हूँ. I'm not like that.
Where do you not smile enough?
No, I think what happens is I'm not a very I'm in a shell. Even in a public profession, I'm still a very private person. It's a contradiction, but it exists.
Yeah.
I understand people will say, but you came out with your relationship and you've done everything. But that's because the rules of the film industry changed over the course of time. I'm a very private person by nature. So when I step out in my private time, I don't like to engage as much, which I realize people misconstrue as arrogance. I'm very misunderstood because I also talk with a straight face, with deadpan humor. Sarcasm is not really understood. Unfortunately, sarcasm is not a very Indian culture thing. We're a very loud, happy, cracking jokes directly, smiling while saying things. So people in the beginning, the media especially, didn't understand my sarcasm because when you have deadpan eyes and you just talk straightforward, people find it condescending and rude.
Yeah.
And that narrative got built, unfortunately, with a lot of people who came and met me and they gave feedback to my PR. Ye to bada rude hai. Also, the other thing was, misunderstood means please put some kind of regard to the fact that when I started interacting with people, what I was going through.
Right.
I was a 25-year-old, 26-year-old lost kid, who had just found success. Maybe I made some mistakes. Maybe I behaved a certain way. But inherently, I'm not that kind of a person. But people always saw what they saw. And also, apparently, I'm this intimidating guy. I'm this scary, intimidating guy, which I'm not. But I guess I am. Because when people say it enough times, even you have to accept, okay, maybe in their eyes I am. I don't know why. I guess you can ask my team members, you can ask people around me. Also, I take a little bit of time to open up. And when I do, then I'm a pain in the ass. Then you can't get in, you will have to get rid of me, So I think what tends to happen is I can't be fake.
Right.
But it doesn't take a lot for you to be warm to people. I think I realized that difference. I thought, okay, why should I be fake? I'll just be myself. But then you realize, if I'm meeting you once, you're going to take that home with you.
Yeah.
So over a course of time, I've developed that ability to some degree to be warm enough to be allowing you to come in. But when I don't want to, I'm not. So like, okay, for example, our paps, the media, they're around us. It's part of our lives. We've all accepted it. When I go for an event, I'll engage with all of them. When I'm in a public space where, they're going to be there. But say, for example, tomorrow I'm stepping out of a restaurant. I will not be comfortable engaging with them as much. So what happens is there's a disparity in the way you're seeing a person on certain days. But he's so nice and he's so warm. But I might be coming out with a different frame of mind when I'm in my personal space. So I just feel that I've not tackled as well. I don't think I can ever. I don't think I can constantly be the same person. I'm a little... So I'm a Cancerian, apparently I'm a bit moody. Apparently, that's what I've been told. I don't know. I'm just misconstrued sometimes. I think eventually when you get to know me, I'm not so bad. I can say that. I think you can enjoy a coffee every once in a while also. Also, I'm a bit different. I'm a very straightforward speaking person. I don't mince words. I mean, with us when we've spoken, I will deal with exactly the stuff that you might not want to talk about. Like I'll pick up the phone and speak about. If you've not liked something, I'll straight away speak about.
You did. You remember the conversation we had after
about
Ekvilan?
Gunde.
No,
Ekvilan also, yes.
Gunde I liked.
Yeah, no, but what I mean is I'll pick up the phone. champion. What I mean is I'll always pick up the phone and confront things.
Because I said something in my review and you said that's not true. That's not why I did this film.
Yeah, well, again.
Yeah.
That was more off the record. Now it's on the record.
And I'm not going to go into
I know,
what
exactly.
you said.
That's what I'm saying.
But you know what I'm saying? Like you said to me, and I thought that was great because like you were kind of countering what I had said with what...
Without hostility.
Without hostility.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I think...
Arjun, the fact that we're sitting here having this conversation when I haven't loved the film you've done is proof of that, right?
So what happens is I think if you engage with me, you'll eventually reach a point where you understand me.
Yeah.
And I'm always open to that. The problem is people don't always like to engage. They like to judge you by being afar. And that's just the problem with this profession inherently, that you make your mind up about a person from hearsay, from visual context, from reading something, from seeing an Insta bit, from seeing a face that's not giving you the energy that please shoot me, I want to be seen, I want to be relevant, I want to be visible. So it creates a tendency of interpretation and perception. I've never been somebody to fight perception, so I continue to be slightly misunderstood.
Yeah.
Because I feel perception is not reality. But the reality is perception is the new reality because there is a lot of perception going on in this world.
That's the problem.
And I'm learning
that. We're in an optics world.
Exactly. I thought मैं काम करूँगा, घर जाऊँगा, लोगों को मेरा काम पसंद आएगा,
and
मुझे और काम देंगे, and they'll appreciate me.
Yeah.
How I am as a person, a guy sitting in Jodhpur or Jaipur or Kanpur is not really going to contextualize my work basis the person, but apparently it is correlated in this new age. When we grew up, I didn't know how XYZ was as a person. I had some sense, but I used to like the film. But today's world is very,
Yeah.
it's, I don't know how to, what's the nicest English, coolest word that can be used in paraphrasing. It's all meshed together, you know. You can't separate out one from the other. So in that sense, sometimes I've suffered because I might have gone into a meeting and been really nice in my head to people, and they might have come out saying, "What an arrogant bastard." I mean, but I've not done anything. So
But you know, speaking of Instagram, I was looking at yours, and you know, you posted about Singham Again and about Danger Lanka, and there are, you know, there's Vikrant Massey and Dulquer Salman, and they, you know, being very positive and encouraging and sort of saying, you know, you should get what you deserve and all of this. And it's so lovely to see that, right? It's so lovely to see peers encouraging each other. But Rohit Shetty had once said to me, "ये सब सिर्फ social media के लिए है, कोई असली bonding नहीं है." Is that true?
I would like to believe with Rohit sir, I have a real bond because he believed in me when, to be honest, nobody else did. He could have chosen to cast anyone, he chose me. That also comes from the pursuit of me being a fan of him. And I've spoken in the past to him that I would like to work with him. So I feel that bond is of almost like I'm somebody who values him in my life. And I would hope it's the same because I think we worked very well together because of how he's presented me, the look that he designed, everything that he did.
That entry with the flaming shawl.
And, you know, from pulling focus in that to operating the camera to being there. He used to check my beard, you know, the way, everything. He was very, so I would like to believe my relationship and equation with him has transcended from just being just an actor, director, producer on that set. I really do care about him because he means, without him, I wouldn't be sitting here today talking in my 2.0 avatar. ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं है. Obviously, sometimes you do films, you move ahead in life, everybody gets busy. Let me put it this way. Pariniti and me shot an ad recently. We had worked a few years back. So it's not like we're in touch all the time, but there is a certain emotion that I have with her that will always remain. At least with me, it doesn't change. And I operate like that. I'm an emotional person. I will pick up the phone and speak if I like some film. I will always engage with people in this industry on one-to-one. And I think that's where the regard comes back to me. So today, when, like for example, when Ranbir and Alia tell me they like my work, I hold that in high regard because I will also pick up the phone and speak. And we've also spoken about films we've not liked of each other. So it also depends on what equations you create with your peers and the contemporaries and the industry people where you can have that, like how I can have an honest conversation with you.
Yeah.
Perhaps my ability to listen to the truth because of what I've been through in life, it's almost like, tum mera kya bigad loge? What I've been through, what I've seen in life, it doesn't, I'll take it on the chin. And I think I've always been an underdog who takes the punches and strikes back. So it doesn't matter to me when people speak negatively. I can take it. I can handle it. It does take a toll after 10 years of negativity. So you don't want so much of it also.
Correct.
But yeah, the relationships formed come from an authentic place of respect. And working together always adds to it. But I've not worked with Dulquer.
Yeah.
But I love his work. And I will always reach out. And the fact that he's commented means that he values that equation that I have with him. And that doesn't mean we are best friends, but there is a mutual regard for films to do well, for your work to be appreciated. And I think that's important. Yeah. In all this perception, there is a little bit of reality that does shimmer through, you know.
Okay, one last question, Arjun. And I'm asking you this because I feel like in your DNA, you are also a producer.
Yes,
right? I mean, that's just part of, again, like
one of the few films I didn't have to worry about was Singham Again, where production was concerned, so I'm happy.
That's
yes,
right.
But you are right. Yes.
No, but, you know, I wrote at the beginning of the year about the sort of crisis of credibility in Hindi cinema. And I've seen that kind of play out through the rest of this year, becoming more and more messy, apparent, you know, the
more
vibe
questions
of media,
than answers.
more questions than answers, the whole ugliness post-Jigra. I don't know, what is your sense of the state of Hindi cinema right now?
It's transitional. And it's definitely taken longer than we would have liked the transition. I think what happened is pre-pandemic, there was a different mindset of people going to theatres to watch the film, which I think the above average film also kind of saw minimum face value of numbers, you know. So we always based filmmaking on that. Eventually, the problem is it's a business. Right now, the business is in a flux. The money that is in the business has reduced drastically because we have lost an avenue like theatrical as a sure shot. हमारे एक MG word होता है, you know, minimum guarantee. Today, a film can go to the next level and can be wiped out. I mean, for example, let's say 12 fail, for example. If it had not been a good film today, it would have maybe not even done 90 lakh rupees.
Absolutely.
And that's the scary part. There's no in-betweens left.
Yeah.
Now, this stems from the fact that we today have given the audience a different reference point of sitting at home and choosing to engage with material. It's not that people don't like to come to theatres, but now you need to really up the quality, which means you need to also understand who is your home-driven audience, who is your theatre audience. Now, that bifurcation takes time to understand, because in real time, you already made films in 2019, 20 and 21 while you were just churning out. See, there was also churn because there was money coming in from platforms as well as the theatres needed films. We were making films. There was a bit of demand supply. And now what's happened is there's a lot of supply because now the OTT platforms are set in their narrative and the way they work. And we kind of saturated our quality to fulfill demand. We didn't really work on quality. And I'm not talking about everybody. I'm saying, I'm just trying to give you a sense of
A
it.
general, yeah.
A general, I think quality became more about servicing the requirements there and then. It didn't become a crusade to make a film. It became, okay, we got to make it land because this is the timing and this is what they need. And okay, then we'll release it. And it became very clinical. It became, okay, theatre mein lagayenge, fir 8 hafte baad aa jaye. So I think the whole business acumen took over versus the creative. The audience kind of said, boss, we don't like this clinical nature of you guys doing, because then we'll sit at home and watch a show. And then also what happened is, which we have to give credit, is there was the whole wave of cinema from all across the country that started becoming more and more exciting, more and more appealing. Whether it's Malayalam, whether it's Tamil, Telugu, Punjabi, Marathi, you started seeing the cinema that was perhaps not at that point as clinical as we were, because I think the processes, the money, accessibility, audience understanding is far more, because you're dealing with an audience that's very connected. Multiplex audiences are very disconnected. You know, they can love Alia Bhatt, but they might choose not to see her film because the film's reviews are not the best.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean her love is diminished. It just means they've gone on the reviews and the word of mouth from the audience. So those factors have made us reach a
Arjun,
point.
what about this, the inherent messiness and the negativity within the business?
Which is so then what's happened, I feel, is that we've not found answers, but then we've also stopped appreciating other people trying to do well or trying to do different stuff. The messiness comes from, I guess, it's a lot to do with also competition being created and this trying to create a situation of this versus this. You know, their films are doing better than ours and etc., which is not important. What's important is we need to make better films.
Exactly.
Which has got lost. But you know, there are certain narratives that get pushed by media for poking. I would like to believe that we are still in a learning phase. It's just taking a bit longer. I think writing needs to get better. And also, I think we need to understand this audience that likes to go to theatres is very different than the OTT audience. The negativity, I think, also comes from just generally the nature of the world right now. I don't think that's going to go away. You know, it's. I'm sure when you post this interview and I might have spoken something that might make sense to you, and other people might say whatever they want about it. So I think that can't be something that we can actually work towards. What we should, and I can only hope we work towards, not like I'm some big. I've just about this last Friday figured out how to give a hit film. So, but I would like to say we need to engage in more time, effort, love, be a little understated along with being mainstream, find the mainstream ethos again, be respectful to all kinds of films, all kinds of genres, stop chasing the last Friday that did well, just do more like that. And at the end of the day, explain to the audience we need time. You know, we also posture sometimes like we got it all figured out and then we eat humble pie. I think there's a give and take where the audience also needs to know, okay, they're trying, you know. So I think what happens is we also tend to really go bombastic and then we eat humble pie and disappear. So that there's no engagement with the audience. They don't know what we're thinking. I don't think there's anything wrong with going through this phase. It's just there's a lot of money involved. So the problem is everybody's kind of waiting who will make the first move to be the trendsetter, to be the game changer. And everybody's sitting in the room and staring at each other saying, "Pehla move kaun karega?" to really take things on head on. You need money to make films.
Is there a lack of courage?
I think there's a lack of conviction.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows what works in theatres. There's no guarantee. And we
But there
operated.
never was, Arjun.
But we operated with the minimum ki yaar, ye picture meri, okay, let's put it this way. And I can only talk about myself. When I was doing a film like Kiyanka, very unique film. A guy who's made his debut with these testosterone masculine films, Gunde and Ishaq Zadeh and Aurangzeb, suddenly doing a film where he's playing a house husband. Very tough to convince people to make that film. But at that point in time, Balki sir wanted to make the film. Didn't have a studio on board. Figured it out and said, you know what, we'll make it in this budget this much, because he knew theatre se, मेरी पिछली फिल्म जो फ्लॉप हुई थी तेवर उसने 35 crores किया था. Today 35 crores is huge business.
Yeah, that is.
35 crores, you'll take it on any film today and say, you know, that's giving me about 15, 17 crores distributor share.
Yeah.
At that point, Tevar, which was a flop, had done 35 crores. So you look at it and said, अच्छा, इसकी जो picture नहीं चली, वो 30-35 करती है. So I get about 15 to 20 crores from theatrical business, and overseas it did whatever. Plus we had satellite, we had music. तो बन जाएगी film.
Yeah.
But you had theatrical revenue to take a chance making a key and ka. How the film is again a different matter, but it did well. It ended up doing 52, 53 crores. So he actually made more than what he thought as an NG.
Yeah. So there was a baseline.
Of course there was.
Now there's no baseline.
There's no. Today I cannot give you a guarantee. What guarantee? Can any hero give you a guarantee?
No.
I mean, you don't need to name anybody, but you can have the biggest hit this year and you can have the biggest flop also this year.
Yeah.
Because it's film to film, because audiences respect you, but they're not going to watch it for you. They watch it for the film. Because they have options at home. They can watch it after 8 weeks. We are now accessible to them on Instagram on a daily basis. So if they are our fans, they check my account, right? So the quality has to improve.
Yeah.
And for that, we need to understand the audience. That conviction has to come back that let's make it and take a chance. But again, money riding, so you come back to the same circle. Who's going to put the money to take a chance? And filmmaking, like any walk of life now, is bloody expensive.
Yeah.
A regular day of shoot, I'm sure the interview that we do sitting here, the cost has rapidly gone up post-COVID. So imagine shooting, how expensive it's become. पहले होता था action picture महंगी होती, अभी picture महंगी है.
Yeah.
So when you see a lot of films not happening or not being made because of budget, that is true. You need money to make a film with conviction. But then you need conviction to make a film with less money also. Listen, I think I've given the longest answer in the history for something that I'm also learning and absorbing. I just hope next year's a better year.
Yeah.
I do believe 2026 from the lineup of films that is happening will be a very, very important year. And we'll be able to get costs in control and get more people coming back to theatres because it's cyclic also.
It is. It is.
I do believe that, everybody goes through these periods where if we get the right kind of string of films coming in, 4, 5, 6, I think the momentum will allow us to make more films that are theatrically profitable also.
And hopefully you will also sign a film soon.
I mean, I'm doing a film called No Entry with my dad. So but I don't count that as a film I've signed. That's something that we all are doing any which ways. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what life holds for me now today in this so-called comeback of mine, and hopefully get interesting opportunities and offers. Like you said, not literally playing just one kind of hero, but also different characters. And I think for me, if I may say so and put it out there, I'm somebody who's done ensembles the most in my career. Out of my contemporaries, I've never been scared of that. And I think this is another prime example for me to really back myself. I think when I've done a Gunde with a Ranveer, when I do a Finding Fanny, whether I do a Mubaraka with AK, whether I do a 2-hero film, I feel I've always benefited by doing those kind of films. And I hope more actors think like me soon. I think we'll make much more interesting and exciting films. I think
so too.
I think that's something that I really hope for.
Excellent, Arjun. Thank you so much and good luck.
Thank you.
And enjoy enjoy sort of wafting in the success of Danger Lanka.
Basking in the glory of my smile and my long hair and my beard and the angst that Rohit Shetty's given me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey guys, this is Arjun Kapoor. Please subscribe to The Hollywood Reporter India.